This is Support is Sexy, episode 392, with Ophira&nbsp, co-founder of the AstroTwins and astrostyle.com. Welcome to Support is Sexy. I'm your host, Elayne Fluker, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I bring you inspiring women entrepreneurs who share their wins and lessons to help you take your business to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm happy to have you here. You know, it just would not be the same without you. And if you are someone who is looking to go from possibility to purpose, if you want to learn how to adopt a possibility mindset and carry that on into your purpose, I want you to sign up for my upcoming audiobook at possibilitytopurpose.com. Get on the list now. The book is on its way. I promise you're going to help hold me accountable, as a matter of fact. So go to possibilitytopurpose.com, sign up for the book. It's coming soon, and you'll also get special offers that'll only be available to people on this list. Possibilitytopurpose.com. Now, today I am super excited to bring you Ophira&nbsp, and Ophira is one half of the AstroTwins. She and her sister Tali are known as astrologers to the stars. They've done readings for people like Beyonce and Emma Roberts, and they also work with corporate executives and everyday folks. They also have incredible content on astrostyle.com, and they write horoscopes for outlets like Elle Magazine and Refinery29. So she has an incredible track record. But what I love about Ophira and her sister, I actually worked with them when I was the managing editor at brides.com back in 2007. She reminded me of this. I was thinking it was around 2010. So after 10 years, over 10 years now, we reconnected through a mutual friend, Victoria Geller. Thank you, Victoria. Reconnected, and to hear about the growth of her business over that time is just incredible. So you're going to love this episode, chock full of information, whether you're into horoscopes and astrology or not. What I love is Ophira shares just how much it helps you be able to communicate with the person, to understand a person, to know the lens that another person is viewing whatever the circumstance or situation is. And that helps in your business, your career, and in your personal life. We can all understand each other better, right? She also talks about how to follow your passion into your business. And we go into how to be of service in your business and how to build your business on a generosity model. It's possible. All right. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. So without further ado, Ophira&nbsp. So Ophira, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to chat with you on Support is Sexy today.
Hey, hey.
So our first question, when did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
You know, I think when my dad was always very entrepreneurial, and he had this gold pen. I remember this cross pen that my sister and I were always stealing because we were always into pens. And he gave me a challenge. Like if I learned all my multiplication tables, he would get me my own. And he taught us how to how to get what we wanted by figuring out how to get it and how to be resourceful and earn things. And I think that was like the beginning of my sister and I have had our own little businesses since we were, 7 or 8 years old, and I'm not even kidding. So,
what did you have at 7 and 8? Was that the first business, getting that pen?
Well, after I got the pen,
you did get it. Okay, I was going to say, did you learn your timetables?
Yes, I did. I got a silver pen, but then I graduated to calligraphy pens, and we started doing calligraphy, and the school district started paying us to fill out hand-lettered certificates for everybody, because I guess we had some unnatural ability with calligraphy or something for our age. So I think also, our family didn't have a lot of money growing up, so when I wanted something, I did have to, I didn't want to wait around till a holiday or my birthday to get it. So I also have a desire for independence too. So
do you feel like your family not having money sort of help fuel that entrepreneurial spirit in you? And I ask that because a lot of the women that I've spoken to who came from different kinds of backgrounds, but if the family not having a lot of money was ever a part of it, it always seemed to be the thing that made them really strike out earlier on, I should say, than some of the other women I've talked to who've come up in different kinds of households.
Huh, interesting. It would make sense because, if everything isn't just handed to you,
Right.
then you do have to become more resourceful and figure out things. So I think it definitely did.
And where did you grow up? In Detroit, right?
Yeah, in Detroit.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So what was a young Ophira like growing up with your twin sister, we should mention?
Yes,
Your
and I
identical
think
twin
that
sister.
my identical twin, and I think that also fueled my entrepreneurship because one of us would always come up with a scheme, and then, be like, let's, we'd always
Enroll
have
the other one.
crime. Exactly. So we were very curious. We were creative. We were entrepreneurial, and just always imaginative and interested in reading and mysteries and that kind of thing. So
in what ways, other than appearance, obviously, are you and your sister alike, and in what ways are you different, or how do you complement each other?
that's definitely a twin question. We do complement each other. Like, we always sort of tag team and play different roles. I feel like Tali likes to go more into the artistic, creative side of things, and I sometimes do a little more of the businessy. Although we can definitely switch it up. We both like to do both, but we, she really kind of gets into like the words and the fashion references and that kind of thing. And I like more of like the marketing and strategy stuff.
So that works definitely in your business.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. So what were your aspirations, would you say, for when you both got older? Did you have ideas of what you wanted to be when you grew up, as you were growing up in Detroit?
We always wanted to be artists, like our aunt, or writers, or both. So we ended up going to art school, but then ending up in publishing and, just combining design and writing skills.
How old were you when you discovered your love for astrology? Was that a point, something that came on early on in life, or not until later?
Well, one of our childhood hustles was a paper route. We had our whole street, and Tali did one side of the street and I did the other. And we would always we'd have to stuff the newspapers a couple times a week with an insert right in the middle. Mm-hmm. So we'd have to open it up to the horoscope page, funny enough, to put the inserts, like the little circular flyers in. So we did start peeking at our horoscopes then. But in college, a friend from New York City, we went to the University of Michigan, and she knew, she was a savvy city girl who knew her chart and, said something like, I'm a Libra with a Taurus moon and an Aries rising.
What?
I was like, what is that? What's mine? How can I find out? So we started, going to the New Age bookstore, and then discovered a little piece of software, and it just kind of spiraled into an obsession from there. So probably around the age of 20, 21 is when we really got into it.
So once it was introduced to you, it was that intrigue or curiosity really pulled you in, for lack of a better phrase.
I was like, ooh, there's something that can give me a shortcut, something that tells me more about myself and what makes me tick, or my friends, or the guys I'm trying to date, or whatever it was. So,
and those things, I know people, it's funny, I may have told you this when we worked together years ago, but a friend of mine, Sonia, who is the first person who really introduced me to astrology. Of course, I knew my sign and all of those things, but I never thought as much about it as I do now, of how much it can help. I don't know if it's foolproof, you might say it is, but how much it can really give you an insight into the way you're being, or someone else just thinks, the way they think about things, or what might be the reason they think a certain way. So it really has, and I know some people still don't quote unquote believe in it, but it truly, I mean, once Sonia exposed me to that, and she gave me a book I can't remember the name of now, and then working with you and your sister, it's just like, this makes sense. It does. I have to admit it.
It does. And I mean, I understand why people don't quote unquote believe in it, because they might be introduced to it through the newspaper column that I found first where it's like, oh, that's interesting, but that's not really happening today or whatever. It's like, the little predictions aren't always correct because I don't even know half the time where some of those people come up with stuff. So, if you know what people are using to predict, then maybe. But in terms of understanding your personality and that kind of thing, it's like, well, you cannot deny certain things,
Right. Right.
But it's like, if someone's a middle child or an only child, they're not necessarily going to have every stereotypical trait of that, but, they may act in a certain way, or the baby of the family. It's somewhat similar to that.
Right. Those experiences, for the most part, there might be something in there that you can see a little bit of a thread with everyone who's in that same position.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So now you and your sister have both always been passionate about
definitely not that.
Definitely not passive. Exactly. Anti-passive about inclusivity in media. And you mentioned working in publishing and especially focusing on women and making sure women are included. And you did this even when you were teenagers. So tell us about what led you to launch your own magazine. I'm a magazine girl still, even though we're all into online now. But what led you to launch your own magazine, HUES, in 1991, and how you went about creating it?
Yeah, I'll forever be a magazine girl.
I know,
too.
I love them still. I don't care.
Yeah, I know. Holding it in your hands is
Right.
nothing like it.
Right.
Yeah. So, we grew up in Detroit. We grew up like 1 mile outside of the city in a very mixed neighborhood. Our dad was from Israel, and, we were like among the only Jewish kids. It was like a black, white, and Arab neighborhood predominantly, with like scattering of, a bunch of other ethnicities, like including ours within, but those were the predominant ones. So it was, already like people just, growing up together, noting our differences, but coexisting
Right.
as next door neighbors. And so that was what our world was. And then when we discovered, teen magazines in that, 11, 12-year-old way in like the school library, it was like, I was almost a little shocked to see this very homogenous, tall, thin, white, blonde, blue-eyed kind of look that I did not look like at the time. And, it's gotten a lot more inclusive and diverse, but we're talking about the 1980s here. So I just remember having this very visceral reaction of like, oh, there's something wrong with me. This is what I'm supposed to look like. A thought that had never really entered my head that much. Maybe like, a little bit in the classroom as much as, it always does. But like seeing it in like this glossy magazine way made me feel like, oh,
It's sort of those things felt like, because I went through that too for my own reasons. And it sort of felt like this magazine, this confirms it. I am not included in this, this quote unquote standard of beauty.
Yeah. And I think, I wish I had even, thought that intellectually. Just so this confirms it. I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty, and I just had the subconscious feeling that prettiness was the currency for being a girl, and I was like, well, I'm shortchanged in that department, which that's the thought that I had about myself, which is really sad. And of course,
of us as girls and women now, we have it still.
Oh yeah, I mean, it doesn't ever fully go away; it stays with you. So, I just Luckily, I grew up during the era of Sassy magazine. Some people remember that magazine, some won't. But, late 1980s, it was Jane Pratt, and it was an answer to those magazines. While it was still a little bit on the pale side, shall we say. It was totally feminist and independent. They wrote articles about like one of the staff members' brother was gay. I mean, that was like a taboo. They broke so many taboos at the time. And it was, when I saw it, I felt redeemed from, the other magazines. And so every year Sassy would have a contest, a reader produced issue where they'd fly a reader in to replace a staff member and create their own issue mentored by their staff. And Tali entered and won to be the art director in 1991. So she got flown out to New York City and got to choose the cover and do the layout and design. And it was pretty exciting.
Did you go too?
I came and visited, and that was both of our first time in New York. And I was like, oh my God, why didn't anyone tell me about this place?
Right. Which is very diverse.
Yes. So it was like a mecca in every way. But even at Sassy, the staff was amazing, but the publisher was still a man and, was interested in sales, of course. And so my sister and her crew picked the models for the cover. And they picked a black girl and an Asian girl to be on the cover. And the publisher made them put a white girl on too, because they said it would alienate readers in the South or something kind of crazy like that. And I remember my sister was just so mad, and so were the other young women who were working on the magazine with her. So she came back, and by then we were in college. I think we were going into our second year of college, and we took our first women's studies class.
What school was this?
University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And our project was to do an action project where we did something sort of, anything activist. So Tali said, let's start our own magazine and do all the things that we couldn't at Sassy. So that's how we started HUES. And we just talked to our classmates and friends in our dorm and did this little black and white folded mini magazine and, printed up. We asked, different student union groups for funding, and they gave us like $50, $100 here. And we printed it and distributed it all over the campus. And then people were like, when's the next one? I want to contribute. We're like, maybe we should do another one. So it was very organically born. We did a couple more local ones. And then I got the idea to make it national because I was graduating. I was like, well, let's keep going with this. And, we never made any money from it. We probably lost money from it, but we managed to start this business and get it put on newsstands and in bookstores, and we convinced the bank to give us a little loan. I don't know how the heck we did it. We're just very determined. So,
and charismatic, right?
We were excited about it.
Right.
I think anyone is charismatic when they believe in something fully. It's like I really believed that girls and women were having their self-esteem chipped away at by not seeing images and hearing stories of people who looked like them and shared their experiences. And that and it didn't take much to convince people of that. Luckily, just more the people on the people on the newsstands were sometimes a little harsh about it, like this won't sell or whatever. But we kept doing it anyway. We didn't listen.
How did it feel to see a problem, as both of you did in media in this case, but to see a problem and then to create something, to take what Tony Robbins and so many others called inspired action? Because I feel like so many of us see something or want to create something or see a space that we can fill, but just taking the action is the only thing that's holding us back from at least starting. Never mind how successful or how it comes out and all of those things. But how did it feel for you? Do you remember at that time just knowing that you created this thing and now it's out in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brought me alive because actually right before we started it, I had my own, let's just say, Me Too experience that summer before.
I'm sorry.
Well, it's a long time ago, but, it almost feels like everybody's had one of those,
right.
Messed up as that is. But, I was a bit depressed. I've never been really a depressed person at all. And this did really bring me back to life in a lot of ways. It was like, so while it was super gratifying to see it actually out there, it was like the process of working on it and having this mission. And I think that was also the mission. It's like, wow, if women weren't taught to devalue themselves, then, we might not, I shouldn't even, it's a slippery slope to say that because in no way do I want to blame anyone for anything that happens. But I guess I should say, like, if there was an open dialogue about this stuff, if women were presented as three-dimensional characters who, yes, we can enjoy fashion and style, but, as real people, then maybe the culture would not be what it is. Maybe, we'd all treat each other with more respect. So I felt like I had this bigger mission and this fire. So yes, you know what? The most gratifying thing was not just seeing the magazine, but seeing people reading it and hearing like, wow, you guys are brave for saying that stuff, or like, oh my God, thank you so much for saying that. That's thought's been in my head and you articulated it. So just like seeing all these people who had been feeling invisible, like, oh, wow, I never even thought that I had a right to, that anyone else felt this way but me.
Yeah, so it's a powerful thing to let someone know that they're seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, how long did you operate the magazine? I know it was in college and then after also.
Yeah, let's see. So we started it in the end of 1991 and finished college in 94, went national 95. So I think for about 3 years after college. And then we ended up selling it to a company in Minnesota that was going to try to continue, but it just, it didn't end up really working out that well. It worked out for a couple of issues, but it was just, I think I'm just too much of an entrepreneur. So I don't think they were quite ready, and we weren't really ready to let go of doing it our way. And
Oh, so after you sold it, were you still working with the magazine, or did you sell it and walk away?
No,
both were still there.
I sold it with the hopes of we were just like, okay, we cannot afford to sustain this, and we found a company that also was publishing a magazine for girls, and we sold it to them with the hopes that we could just stay on, and it would be sort of a joint venture, but it didn't work out that smoothly. Lessons learned in your 20s, early 20s. I think I was a little stubborn 25-year-old Sagittarius too. So.
Sagittarius. So how do you feel like that experience shaped you as a future entrepreneur? Having the magazine, building it, especially driven by such a mission, and then selling it, just that whole experience overall. How do you feel like that has shaped you as the entrepreneur you are today?
I learned that I could start something from scratch, and as long as I really believe in it, that I learned that I just want to have a career. For an entrepreneur, your career has to be driven by passion and not just profit. So some profit, of course. I learned, I think HUES, the magazine, was all passion, no profit. So I think I learned that it was important to balance both of those things,
The profit helps you keep the passion going, or allows you to be able to focus on the passion.
Yeah, but it's sort of a tricky dance, because if you make it just about the profit, that it's like the yoga pose. You got to find that right,
exactly,
right balance.
Everybody's center of balance is a little different.
Exactly. So, and I think people can tell when it's just about profit. It's like it's so obvious, But if someone is making a profit and doing their passion and helping, being of service, like your podcast, it's like you can feel it, it's like,
oh, good. That makes me feel good. You can feel it. Do you feel like you found that yoga pose, if you will, that balance now in the business that you have today?
Yeah. What was funny was at HUES, we would have these meetings with, we had our HUES collective, and we had these pretty big meetings of women, and then men started joining too to plan the issues and assign articles to everybody. But we'd always end up talking about astrology. And I noticed it didn't erase the differences between people, but it was like, identity politics can be polarizing, but talking about differences in horoscopes, it's just there's an air of play to it that makes it like you can own your quirks. Like if I said, oh, I have cellulite, then it's like, oh, that's bad. But it's like, oh yeah, I'm a Sagittarius and I always take on more than I can handle. It's like, oh, it's not a fatal fundamental flaw. It's like one of the quirks of your zodiac sign. So it gives people permission to be human. And I just, I didn't even mean to have an astrology business. It's just after I worked at HUES, after I walked away from HUES, I went to Ms. Magazine, and I ended up talking to the copy editors, the freelancers about astrology, and I saved one of the girls' relationships. She went on to Teen People magazine and brought us in as columnists. And I was like, oh, I never thought about having an astrology column, but okay.
Now, were you talking about it in these spaces just because it was an interest of yours after your friend introduced you to it early on? So you were just having conversations and then helping people save their relationships?
Yes, I think, from like around, as soon as I got really into it around age 21, Tali and I both got pretty obsessed. So it was just something we would always talk about. We'd be able to like guess people's signs. Sometimes we walked into a room. It was just, we became that people, but those people, but it was a funny thing. It's like, oh, these twins who know all this stuff about astrology. It was like people just knew that about us. But it wasn't anything I thought about doing professionally. But it found us, and then it's just built itself into a business over the past decade plus. So
wow. It found you, but also one of the things I always try to make sure to mention to listeners whenever I hear it in someone's story, you said yes to the opportunities that came along. Sometimes things that we naturally are passionate about or into, like astrology or anything, people see something in us like, wow, you're actually good at that, or that really works. And then they offer you something and you're too afraid or whatever else, talk yourself out of saying yes.
Well, especially because, here I was working at Ms. magazine,
right,
which is this intellectual feminist.
Yes.
And Gloria Steinem had personally, because she was introduced to our magazine, HUES, and like loved it and championed it, and got me the job at Ms. So, she was hoping that I think that I was going to bring some of that energy to Ms., but it was just kind of too established for me to really do much of that when I got there. So, she was amazing, but she didn't really have the power to allow me to do that really. So, but when I had a couple of years later, when I ran into her and told her what I was doing, I was like, yeah, I'm writing astrology now. And she was like, oh yeah, I had my chart done in India in the 60s or something. And I was like, yeah, you're being nice, but you don't think I'm, anything very valuable for the world. But I really just, wanted to say, look, I am putting like the feminist message in the astrology. It's like when you put the dog's heartworm pill in peanut butter or a piece of lunch meat and give it to them. Like, it's baked in.
It's baked in. And I love that. I love that you said that, putting the feminist bend into astrology. How do you do that? Is it just because your point of view very strongly comes from that, even though or along with you doing astrology? Do you feel like that's how you incorporate it best?
I think so. I mean, I think it's just a sensibility of inclusiveness, not even necessarily feminism, but just like dignity for all people. Like, I'm not going to put a diet tip in because we want to be, body diverse, I guess is the way you'd say it now, just anything that would make someone feel that they weren't enough. I never put in, or we draw on as many diverse references as we can. Just a sensibility to bring,
yes,
thinking about,
Go ahead, thinking about, sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Just thinking like, okay, we do have an international audience that really started with Twitter and social media a few years ago. But like, we'll hear from a man in India to, like we literally have people reading these all over the world and feeling like, we're talking directly to them. So that's my gauge, but I think it's just like trying to find those universal themes that people can relate to and not making anyone feel like they're not welcome at the table. It's like, I know there's a lot of businesses that thrive from being exclusionary or aspirational. Maybe that's a certain business model that works, but it's just not one I'm interested in.
And your website, astrostyle.com, for everyone listening, I'll make sure I have a link to it, but just so you can hear it, astrostyle.com. I love the website because of the exact reasons that you said. It feels inclusive. It's fun, of course, but then the content is also not just about changing this because I'm a Pisces who does X. I'm a Pisces who does X and X. It's more fun and more of a celebration, but still informative. You give, obviously, tons of great information about astrology as well, but it feels affirming as opposed to these are all the things that are wrong with you.
Thank you. I'm glad that it's coming across that way then. Yeah, it's just,
Absolutely.
and if people are expecting fluff and then they come and they read it and they feel
Thoughtful.
like, yeah, I thank you. That's what we try to make it thoughtful and helpful and practical. I mean, in my 30s, I did a lot of coaching programs and personal growth. So that's part of what informs. I mean, and the goal is to be of service. I think for any entrepreneur, since advice is always welcomed, I guess, who is this helping? How is it helping them? Even if you're making them laugh or you're entertaining them, you're still helping them. But just, it's really important to be clear about what are you providing for people with what you do or give.
And like you said, now you've had the business over a decade, right? Over 10 years?
Yeah, yeah.
So how would you describe the business that you have today for those listening and meeting you for the first time?
Yeah, I literally have a business based on astrology, which surprises me every time I say it. Because who would have thought, And I love when I tell people what I do because they think I just sit in a window with a crystal ball. But
right,
yeah,
inviting people in.
Yeah, we have an online business based on giving advice and coaching through astrology, and we have 3.5 million unique visitors a month on our website, and about 12 million page views a month. So, and people all over the world, and it's just grown, very organically over the years. Just by consistently publishing daily, weekly, and monthly horoscopes and putting them out there at no charge for people. We make our money from advertising and columns and chart readings and our digital downloads and books. But we really like to operate on a generosity model of giving, if someone came to our website, maybe this is counterintuitive to business, but they never feel like they have to spend money to get value. Right. So everything that we offer is they feel that they've gotten so much value that they want more from us. That everything that we're selling is something that is going to enhance what they've already gotten. But we try not to leave people wanting. Some people would say that's a bad business model, but
no, I don't think so either. Maybe it's you and you and me and your sister in that boat, but I think maybe I shouldn't say a lot. I've noticed more and more, especially entrepreneurs, talking about that, the importance of providing value, whatever that looks like, through your website. For me, it's through podcasts, and people say, "Oh, you should charge for that. Oh, you should do." No, this is you decide on the piece that's going to be the value that you're adding, and like you said, anything additional is added value. The things that you sell or that accompany, what you're already offering to people. It's not even, I don't even think of it as, let me know what you think, as giving it away. This is my offering to you of what we can provide you as far as value. And people can really get inspired by that, drawn in by that, attracted to that. And then you show other things that you have that are other offerings that they might be willing to pay for. So I support that.
Yeah, well, thank you for articulating that so well, because, I don't start with an attitude that anybody owes me anything or I deserve anything just because I, added my data to the great internet in the sky. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something to say. It's I'm honored that people want to read what I have to say. And yes, I want it to be my business and to make a living from it. So I am going to find things to sell, and I'm not going to give away all the milk for free. But, if they don't know what the milk tastes like and that it's good, then how am I going to sell them the ice cream,
Right. Now, you mentioned you have you sell advertising on the website. Is that where the advertising comes in?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Advertising on the website, incredible products, some of which we're going to talk about later. I'm excited about. You write horoscopes for major publications such as Elle and Refinery 29. I know there are several others. And then also they call you astrologers to the stars. So you work with celebrities as well.
Yeah, somebody called us that once.
Yes,
I mean, I have. Yeah, I've done readings for some awesome celebs and some world leaders, and I've done some readings for Karlie Kloss and Emma Roberts and Beyonce a few years ago at an event that was awesome.
Nice.
The astrology really is so universal because everybody is wondering about the same things. It's so fun, no matter whether they're famous or not. They're they're still having to figure out how to be a human being on this planet, and nobody has the script for that. And your chart
has a sign.
Everybody has a sign, everybody has a chart, everybody has challenges. It's like, you know, we're all here navigating something. And even if it looks like someone has a perfect life on the outside, like you look at their chart, you can see maybe they do have great years, but then they have some challenges. We're all here to work through that.
Now, when you work with people, celebrity or not, I'm thinking about Beyonce, but anyone, when you work with anyone, with astrology, is it about reading, forgive my ignorance, but reading, for lack of a better word, where the person is now in their lives, or is it about seeing something in the future, the journey that they're on down the road? I don't want it to sound like I'm saying fortune telling, but is it?
No, that's a great question, and it's exactly what probably people wonder. So your chart is basically a snapshot of where all the planets were when you were born. So that's like a road map to yourself. So I when I do a reading, or me and my sister, you know, we'll take the person through their chart. So this is like understanding what I call your factory settings. Like if you get an iPhone, you take it out of the box, it's just like any other iPhone. Then you can customize it with, the more you understand how to use it, the more you can add your own apps and wallpapers and that kind of thing. So understanding your chart is like understanding your operating system, you know? And once you understand that, you actually gain more free will, because consciousness and self-awareness gives us more free will. So you're getting introduced to your own user's manual. Now, then we talk about timing, because your chart is like a freeze frame. It never changes, but the planets are always moving. So as they move, they, you know, throughout the years or months, they'll make contact with one of those frozen planets in your chart, and that'll activate an opportunity period or a challenge period. And knowing that, you can be like, oh, now this is a better time for me to apply for that job, or this would be a better time for me to, you know, look for love or take a break from dating, or da-da-da. So it's like, there's an opportunity to understand how to plan your life, but also how to gain greater self-awareness. So it's like a twofold thing.
I love what you said, too, about your consciousness. It's raising your awareness overall about who you are, and then how to move through the world.
Yeah. Whether you do it with astrology or any other modality,
right,
you know, the more you know yourself, the more freedom you have in life. Maybe ignorance is bliss, but it doesn't. But that runs out after a while, you know?
Right, exactly. Now, at what point did you realize on your journey that this was a business, basically? As we talked about, you built it into a business over the past 10 years, but was there a point where you learned or realized, or was there some moment that happened where you thought, okay, this could actually be something that we do full time?
Yeah, I mean, we went to art school, and we, you know, eventually taught ourselves how to build websites. So I was doing those on the side. But I think what happened was, like, the demand just kind of grew. We like started to have a lot of reading appointments. We started to be asked to write more columns, you know, as you know, people started to refer us to their friends, or we redid our website in 2007, and, you know, people started to find it or refer it. So it just, I think, like, there was a year that I was like, I don't really need to build websites next year. I think I'm going to stop, you know, even though it was fun, and I'm so glad I kept those skills up, because if I have to tweak the code a little bit sometimes, you know, in my own site, I can still go in. I think that's also advice for other entrepreneurs. Like, keep all your skills fresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just going to mention, I know on your website you mentioned it too, which I thought was great, when you were telling your own story about you and your sister, and how just the evolution of yourselves and your business. But you mentioned sometimes you have to have the side thing for a while as you grow your business, and keeping those skills up. So that's great advice.
Yeah. And people look and they think, oh, they just went right into it. It's like, no way. If you knew how many authors and small businesses have websites that I built, you know, and it was, and like I said, you know what, it was fun, because it was like I was thinking about someone else's business besides my own, and thinking creatively how to market them or visually represent them. So I think it was like I honed my own skills that I used for Astro style later. I'll dip into one of my favorite places is General Assembly, which is an online and brick and mortar school, and if anyone can take classes there, but they offer these cutting edge classes in like digital marketing, coding, visual design, user experience, that kind of thing. And you can take like a 1-day boot camp or a workshop or like a 3-hour workshop, and I'll go and I'll do like a social media class or something like that, just because it's important. The landscape changes so quickly with technology, but entrepreneurs need to. Yeah, it's fun. Like you feel young again when you're learning new things.
No, it's smart too, I think, and it sort of frees us from this, I don't have time, or I have to take a course over however many days. Like you said, there's places, I'll make sure I link to General Assembly, but I'm sure there's other places too where you could go for a boot camp for 1 day on social media or whatever it is. That's a good idea. I'm going to do that, Ophira. That's good.
Oh my God, it's awesome. Yeah. I'll see you there because I love their classes.
Excellent. Now, what would you say are some key steps that you took to grow your business once you did realize, okay, we're on to something here? Were there some steps that you remember that you took to really make sure that it was on solid ground?
Yeah, we worked with a life coach. Lois Barth is her name. She's in New York, and she was great. We did this 12-week program with her. We met her in one of our personal development workshops, but we ended up hiring her, and we did a 12-week program called What Now, where we really clarified what we did and didn't love about what we were doing and where we wanted it to go. And we're going to be working with her again in a couple weeks on a new organizational chart, and we incorporated and figured that out.
Oh, fancy. I love it.
Yeah, what did we do? Definitely did all the setting up of the social media. People know that stuff now, but I did Marie Forleo's B School in 2011.
How was
it?
Great. I hear
it was great.
So many great things about it. I want to do it as well. I've known about it for years, and I hear just wonderful. Once people come out of it, they're like, it was fantastic. Now I just have to put it all in place.
Mm-hmm. I put it in place throughout. She taught about having at the time, I don't know if, she taught have people sign up for your mailing list, but give them a special opt-in offer. Right. So through the exercises, I really thought, well, what do people really want? And it's what keeps them up at night? Well, when their relationships don't work. So I came up with this little guide called How to Get Along with Anyone. Yes, even that person. Mm-hmm. And it's a little compatibility guide that people get for free when they join our mailing list. And, that doubled the sign-ups when I did that, for example. So, just learning from people, not in the traditional sense. That's why I like B School and General Assembly, because these are people who are actually, teaching the classes, but might have their own agency or a small agency at a WeWork space, but a successful one, successful enough where they, have a lot of clients, but not so big that they don't have time to teach other people to make some extra money or share what they learn or whatever they get out of it. But just people who are actually in the trenches are the best ones to learn from. So we've been doing that all along. We've invested in coaching, and, we now work with an small SEO company that's really helped us. Just when you get to a certain point, it's really good to invest in people who can understand your data and numbers and help you with that, unless that's something that you really love doing. And even so, I like to learn and understand it all, but I got to a point where it's that's good, but I need to hand that over.
Right. I love audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks all the time. For everyone listening, we have a partnership with Audible. Free, support at sexybook.com. You get a free book from Audible, 30 days free.
Get it?
Yes, 30 days for free. I love it. But one of the books I'm listening to is The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs. And one of the things he talked about in the most recent part I listened to was about the importance of delegating as an entrepreneur. Even if you can do it, doesn't mean you should do it, right? So like you said, learning about SEO and those kind of things you want to know, but maybe that's not where you necessarily should spend most of your time.
Right. And it's a tricky thing because like when you don't know what people are doing, like, yeah, some people could take advantage of you. And I hear horrible stories about like
Yes.
people who pay to marketing or PR, and that's why I think like keeping some of your own skills sharp. So you know at least which questions to ask
Right.
before you hire anyone.
And
yeah.
usually you've done a lot of it when you first start yourself. So you have some idea, especially, for a very small business. Like you've done a little bit of it, but now you're bringing in someone who knows a bit more. But to your point, it's good to know, have some idea so you don't feel, and to ask around, what are other people paying SEO experts or publicists and that kind of thing.
And it's really in these smaller school, like when you take one of these smaller classes with an instructor or something like that, then you can, a lot of the times they have Q&A sessions where you can bring questions like that and get like a simple but to the point answer. Like, all right, how much should I really be paid? What's the market? It's just,
right.
It is easy to get taken advantage of, but it's also easy to find really great on point advice. And you also have to not be afraid of making mistakes, because I've invested in some specialists that didn't always deliver or couldn't do it, or I'd find myself like doing their job sometimes, and I've gotten better at letting go of them sooner, but it's just, I do expect myself to be perfect, and then I catch myself and remember that I can't,
That you're human.
I hate making mistakes.
Yeah.
Especially as an entrepreneur, because like, I just wasted money.
And a Sagittarius.
Exactly. Like I'm supposed to know everything,
right.
But, it's like,
my mom's a Sagittarius, yes.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes.
Oh. I mean, I hope. It
yes.
can be a whole lot of mom.
A lot of mom. She means well, but she knows everything.
Yes. Something, but the thing is, since I know that I know everything, I'm just kidding. Or I know that I'm a know-it-all, I try to catch myself. Although, it happens. It just slips out a lot. So.
What would you say are 3 smart ways that we as women can use astrology to help us in our decision making, especially when it comes to our business?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, definitely like doing your chart. You can even do a free chart on our site. It's astrostyle.com/free-chart. And just read the little short descriptions about your moon sign, which is like what really drives you, or your Mercury, which is the way you communicate, or Mars, which is like how ambitious you are. Like, when I first did my chart, I'm a Sagittarius, but I have the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars all in Scorpio. And that was what kind of like shocked me into being like, maybe there's something to this, because I am very Scorpio-like. I want to know everything, all the nitty-gritty details, and that I was like, so, because I would always read that Sagittarius are happy-go-lucky and never finish anything they start. I was like, well, I finish everything. I obsessively finish it. So, so knowing your chart, or just the basics of it, can really be a great tool for understanding the right job fit or role for yourself. Understanding the timing of the stars is also great for planning and business. And yeah, I mean, that's 2 things, but
and we can get the chart. You said the free chart,
astrostyle.com/free-chart. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make sure I have a link to that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good.
I guess the third thing is knowing your coworkers' signs too, because then that's why we wrote How to Get Along with Anyone, because it's like some people are annoying because you don't understand their role in your life. Maybe they're meant to push your buttons to make you, be better, or maybe they're just a way that is different than you, that if you understand that it's different, you'll be more tolerant. They're a Taurus, they're very process oriented. I just need to give them that space instead of trying to like run all over that.
Right. It's your coworkers and other people in your life too. Just your relationship. Our relationships affect so much of what our days and nights and businesses and everything are like, right?
Oh God, yeah.
And being able to understand, based on what you just said, how people communicate differently. Because a lot of times I've been in situations where I say, well, let me just ask what this person is trying to really communicate, or say it back to the person. If this is what I'm hearing you say, because sometimes I'll speak for myself. I know I can make up a great story. I'm a storyteller. So if I don't understand what you're saying, I'll make up a whole other story, as opposed to saying, is this what you're trying to say? Or is this what you're saying? And that kind of thing.
Totally. Yes. And like understanding what maybe that person's core need might be. Maybe they have a need for excitement or adventure or possibility, where you have a need for certainty, and that you have to find a middle ground where you get a straight answer out of them, but you don't make them feel like creatively caged in. It could be amazing for like working with teams. We've even done team building seminars. Like we even did one for Nike, and for a few corporate places, just like to help all the members of the team understand each other, and they loved it. So
with their charts?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love to hear that corporations are doing that.
Yeah, it was like this. It was a travel agent company, or like a sort of an experienced travel company that planned their sort of icebreaker, but the woman read our horoscopes and asked us to do it. So they were like, "Oh, okay," but they loved it. It's like, hey, why not?
I love that. Do you find that more companies, just in your work, are being more open to things like that, or really through astrology or however trying to understand each other more?
Well, and you may have heard the quote by J.P. Morgan that millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. That's one of my favorite quotes.
I never heard that. That's a good one.
Is that a good one? There are some companies, but people within the companies, like a lot of our clients are very high level executives at, even in, major government and legal and, psychologists and, just entertainment, government policy, like some very intellectual or corporate roles that you wouldn't think would be into it. But, it cuts across all of it. I love it. So
I'm still thinking about that quote. That's very interesting.
Isn't it a good one?
That's a good one. What would you say, Ophira, that entrepreneurship has taught you about yourself as a woman?
Well, I mean, there do feel like there are different sets of rules, but being an entrepreneur, sometimes you can choose a little bit of, it depends on what profession you're in, but I may have encountered less sexism, because I'm not working in these old, institutionalized, fossilized systems as much. I think because entrepreneurship is so much about creating who you are and writing your own rules, maybe as a woman I don't feel as beholden to play by rules. I mean, I still experience some of that for sure, but and sometimes they'll still be like tech type of guy experiences where they just think, oh, they're just the girls. We get called the girls a lot. Like I don't care, except that it's like, well, okay, I'm probably like 20 years older than you, but
Right.
cool, but it's more just the way it's said. It's just, but it's also an opportunity to surprise people too. So being an entrepreneur, nice to
be underestimated.
It is. I love kind of being like, boom, and then they're like, oh, okay,
now we understand.
As long as they don't as long as they keep improve their game instead of getting threatened by it, it's okay.
Right. So in closing, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
I think it would be my aunt, Carolyn. She was, she passed away about 1.5 years ago, but she was like my other mother, and she just was always unconditionally loving and supportive, and I just always wanted to be like her. She was an Aquarius, and she blazed her own trail. She did, she didn't care what anyone thought. She just did whatever she wanted unapologetically, even if it was like seemed crazy or looked stupid, and she always just defined herself as an artist. So, I would just thank her, and my mom and grandmother, as one force who always told me and my sister that everything we did was great and praised our creativity and encouraged it and had their own voices and encouraged us to have ours. So, just there's nothing like the support to use the word, the most important word here, like, that can make or break a person. So
Absolutely.
I think anyone who has a child, just, you want them to be okay. And sometimes you think that like breaking them down is a way to make sure that they learn how to be in life. Well, that's how you'll teach them to be a good employee in life. But if you support them, you'll teach them that they can do anything. And that's so much more important than teaching them how to follow someone else's rules in my world. So my aunt, would always be on my side and never told me to follow anybody's rules,
I love that. And you've lived that out and created a business around it.
Yeah, so it can be done.
It can be done.
Screw other people's rules. Make your own.
That's right. That's right. Now tell us how we can support you. Tell everyone the website again, social media. Of course, I'll have links to everything that we've talked about.
Yeah, we're at astrostyle.com for daily, monthly, and weekly horoscopes and love horoscopes, compatibility, anything and everything about your sign. And on social media, we're AstroTwins. And then we have our big book that we do every year, our planetary planner, which is basically an encyclopedia guide to the entire year, all the most important days for love and career and money, and also like a big overview of what every sign needs to focus on for the whole year. So it'll guide you throughout the entire year. And that is at astrostyle.com/2018-guide. So
excellent. Yeah. And I saw that they have 20% off the planners for supportive sexy listeners.
Yep, absolutely. I know I gave you a code,
but support is sexy all together.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So is that at checkout? We'll make sure we enter that.
Yep, at checkout.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. I have some planner lovers I know as listeners, so I know they're going to jump on that.
Sure.
Excellent.
I'm sure.
I'll make sure we link to that. Thank you so much for that. We love the gifts or the discounts. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. We love to give them. So, thank you for the awesome conversation. I'm so glad to reconnect with you.
Me too. For everyone listening, we met each other 2000, what did we say, 10, I think it was, at Brides and Latina.
2007 at Brides.
Oh my gosh, 2007. Holy.
So we're past a decade now.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So funny how people come back into your life. And Victoria Geller reconnected us, I believe. That's awesome. I love it.
That's so funny. So yes.
Well, it's beautiful
please let us know how we can support you too.
Yes, absolutely. And it's beautiful to see what your business has become from those early days of writing the horoscopes, and just amazing. So I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Oh, thank you. And Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes. And before you go, though, give us a parting piece of advice from you to our listeners about anything.
I guess the piece of advice I give is try it. Don't try it in your head. Try it out, and take it one step at a time. Like if you have an idea, it doesn't mean it will or won't work, but you won't know until you actually try. So, and even if it's the first, maybe in the first incarnation it doesn't work, but the idea itself may still be good. So every business, every entrepreneurial idea is like a living, breathing thing. It has to change. It has to grow. It doesn't just stay in one way. So if you're willing to nurture it, like you would a kid, then and accept it through all its phases, then you could raise yourself a business child, I guess. So
excellent. That's wonderful. Ophira, thank you so much. Hold on just a second.
Sure.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Ophira. To find out more about her and what the AstroTwins are up to, and to get that link for the 20% off your own planetary planner from them. We love all these gifts from all our wonderful guests, right? 20% off a planetary planner from the AstroTwins. Go to supportissexypodcast.com and just search Ophira, Ophira. Her show notes page will pop up with all of the links, the resources, and the ways to get in touch with her, and the link for the planner and for the free chart that she mentioned. It'll all be in there. Supportissexypodcast.com. Go to the search icon at the top and search Ophira. Ophira. You'll see it all there. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. You know, I appreciate you. Wherever you are listening, you know, my friend Ernest he listens to the podcast, which I so appreciate, and he gives me great feedback. But he told me that he couldn't figure out how to leave a review. Yes, I'm calling you out. For all of you who can't find where to leave a review, in the show notes, wherever you're listening, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts, I actually think this link is only if you're on an iPhone, even though I love you wherever you're listening. But if you are on an iPhone and you look at the full description of each episode that you're listening to, there's a link in there that says, love this episode. Click here to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. So if you do love the show, which I appreciate, again, you being here, you listening at all, whether you leave a review or not, thank you for being here. But I want you to know I am offering a way to make it easy for you. So make sure you look in the show notes, click the link, and it'll take you to the right page to write a review. And I will say it's difficult to find the place to leave a review. I don't know why they make it difficult. I'm trying to make it easy. So if you're interested in leaving a review, check out the show notes. There will be a link there and on supportedsexypodcast.com on every episode. We also have a link that says, love this episode. Click here to leave a review. All right. So thank you again for being here. It would not be the same without you, as I always say. So until next time, I do want you to remember one thing. You deserve support. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.